Hey, yo, Schizo Jits here, UFC 299 recap. Great night of fights. The main card especially delivered out in Florida. We had Trump in the house. We had a bunch of celebrities and stars all there as usual. Anytime a UFC event comes in town, it was another sold out crowd, I believe. I think it was like the fourth highest gate non-Connor attended gate or something like that. Or I don't know if they're did the pay-per-view numbers yet, but definitely it showed out. It was a great night of fights, great card. It started off with the return of Peter Yan against Long Duck Song Yadong. He came in and just it was a back and forth fight. The first round, Peter Yan, typically if you watch his fights, he does start off slow. He kind of just downloading data, making reads, making adjustments in the first round, which is kind of like it's cool in a way because he makes those in fight adjustments, but at the same time, like you're basically giving away the first round in almost every fight. And in a 3-round fight, that's not leaving you much room to make those adjustments and really apply them. But this fight was kind of back and forth. The first round, like I said, you could tell Peter Yan was biting on a lot of Song's feints. He was not really, he wasn't as sharp as we're used to seeing him. He was kind of like just basically biting on all the feints, and because there was this one thing where Song was kind of doing a leg tap thing where he was gonna attempt like shooting, like he was like feinting that he was going for a shot, and every time like freaking. Like Yan, I think he's so traumatized from fighting Marab, fighting Aljo, fighting all these guys, Sanhagen, all these guys to be able to take his back and out grapple him that he's just it's like PTSD type thing. Every single time Song would like feint at it, he was like dropping, like changing levels right away, trying to stop that. And Song only got one takedown, 1 out of 8. So Peter Yan did do a great job of that, of making those adjustments and not getting taken down, but he was biting on a lot of feints. Song kind of was throwing a lot more power shots. He seemed a lot faster in that first round, and then I don't know if all the grappling kind of slowed him down or not. Also, accompanied with Peter Yan downloading that data and making adjustments, because he kind of started to have his way in the second and third round. Like even Peter Yan had a couple, perfectly timed takedowns on Yadong. So Peter Yan took down Yadong. That does not sound very, that doesn't sound like a fight, but that sounds like something else, like maybe something you might see on Pornhub. I don't know if you're into that type of thing, but anyway, yeah. So we had Peter Yan perfectly timed takedowns, was able to take down Song 2 times, I think it was 2 out of 5, I think, takedowns, and did some pretty decent little damage there. Had a nice elbow, cut him open. Like he did some nice ground and pound. That's one thing about Peter Yan. When he sees an opening, he does take it. He exploits it. And he started to come on strong like the last two, the second and third round. I won't say he took over. It was still competitive, but you could tell who was winning the fight. And I think it was clear that he won 2 out of 3 rounds. And it was clear that Peter Yan, they were pretty, like I think Peter Yan total strikes only outlanded him by 25 strikes. So it wasn't like a total domination or anything like that in 3 rounds. But the last 2 rounds, you could tell who won the fight. It wasn't any complaints. It wasn't anything like. So it is the return of Peter Yan, and he speaks English now. Like the whole post-fight interview with Joe Rogan, he was speaking English. So very broken English, very limited, but still, hey, your boy's making an effort. So that's good. I think other fighters need to take notes and do that. Either that, or they're gonna have to have some like captions or subtitles or something. I don't know, because a lot of times stuff gets lost in translation when you have the translators in there for you. Like you don't really get the same excitement, especially when they have a long-winded answer, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, he said he was a tough guy. Like it's just kind of like, it doesn't make sense, all that stuff he just said. But the stuff gets lost in translation a lot. But I'm happy to see Peter Yan get that return. He was on a bit of a skid. Marab, I think he fought Sanhagen, right? He lost a bunch of fights in a row, a few, so he was kind of, I'm not saying he's on a chopping block. He's always relevant because he does have a high skill level. It's just he kind of got figured out a bit, I think, with that Aljo fight, the second Aljo fight. So, yeah, the return of Peter Yan back to the win column. We'll see what's next for him. Bantamweight is definitely, it's been shaken up ever since Aljo lost, and O'Malley is the champ. So we'll see what's going on with him next. And, yeah, we'll stay tuned for that. I'm excited to see Yan back in the mix. and do something well because he is a fan favorite. He puts on a show. He's a great boxer, great stand-up type fighter, and he does have good wrestling. It's just when you get to those the upper levels of wrestling or grappling, period, MMA grappling, Aljo, the Marabs, the Sanhagas, these guys that can just do it all, but do that a little better. He has a tough time with that. So, but there's some interesting matchups in there for him. Maybe a Cejudo, maybe who knows, maybe even a Chito. But typically UFC doesn't like to put winners and losers together. Like as far as their last fights, usually it's winners against winners, losers versus losers. So we'll see how that goes. So, but that was the first fight, and it was a good fight. It was a good opener. It wasn't like the craziest, most exciting fight, but it was good. There was moments there that it was. It was kind of more of a save because, like I said, Jan, he needed this win big time. He needed to get back in this win because in the win column, it was congrats to Jan. Welcome back. And then we had the welterweight showdown between Gilbert Durinho Burns, who I picked. I went 4 out of 5 on the main card. The only one I got wrong was Gilbert Burns versus Jack Della Maddalena. I got to read that one because I always mess up his name. Let's just call him Mad Jack. Captain Jack, Kangaroo Jack. I like Mad Jack because he always just does kind of look a little mad, a little crazy out there with his pushed-in nose. Like you see his face, you see his nose. I got a nose. I ain't a fighter. With his nose, I'm not a fighter. His nose, you could tell he's a fighter because that thing is like smashed into his face. Like, what else can you be? You could be a freaking mafia hitman or something, or you could be a fighter. These are your two. You go into the counselor's office. What do you want to be? They take one look at that nose. Yeah, you're a fighter. That's what you're going to be. That's Mad Jack. And Mad Jack, or Captain Jack, whatever you call him, he was looking great. And like I said, it was a heart thing because, Durinho, he's one of my guys. I was rooting for Gilbert Burns. This was a tough matchup for him. And he did have success as far as the grappling. He had like 7 out of 11 takedowns. So 7-11, he was doing his thing. He was getting the takedowns. He wasn't doing a lot of damage and really didn't attempt submissions because Jack was doing such a great job defensively and able to get back up. And I think he's just strong in there. And when it came to the striking level, like Gilbert did land some big shots on the feet. Like it was just Jack was able to eat those and just stay more efficient with his striking. Like he doesn't really waste many movements. Like anything he lands is really technically sound and it's sharp. And he was a lot sharper than Gilbert, and he could just take a punch a little better. And I think that's where it came down to. Like, he doesn't waste a lot of energy. He wasn't even breathing hard, even with all those grappling exchanges and everything else that was going on, and they were exchanging on the feet. And because Gilbert has some nice body kicks, and like he was throwing some big rights, but it was more like one shot at a time. Jack's a little bit more fluid with the boxing, I believe, and the stand-up game. And just like I said, more efficient with it. Like, which by efficient is like you're just not expending a lot of energy while you're being offensive or defensive responsible. Like you're able to just kind of stay in the pocket and you're not really, you're staying more composed and you're not breathing heavy. It's not wasted energy in there. So it's not so explosive, but it's still effective. And I think that Jack, the thing was he landed a knee from hell. Like, it was a scramble. Gilbert had got a takedown, and it was a weird scramble where he kind of went upside down up against the cage, and it allowed Jack to be able to get up. I think he Granby rolled, or he did some type of roll where they ended up where there was space where Jack got up a little faster than Gilbert, and Gilbert got up, and then he kind of went down again because he was kind of doing the grappling game. It was already the third round. Mind you, who knows? I don't know what the official scorecards were, but it's a very possibility, even though being outstruck on the feet, Burns might have been winning that fight. He might have won the first 2 fights just with 7 takedowns and a lot of control time. Even though damage trumps all, there wasn't a whole lot of significant damage at that time. You could tell who the better striker was, but, still, you could also tell who the better grappler was, so it's kind of tit for tat. And then, Gilbert went in for a shot, and it was, I don't know if it was predictable, but perfect timing by Mad Jack. Knee from hell, and just basically hit this whole area. Kind of probably hit him up on the face with his high thigh and chest. Literally, it was just a perfectly timed knee where Gilbert went straight into it. So you're having a collision, boom, knee versus chin and chest, neck area, and Gilbert was really hurt badly from this, and Jack got on top of him and pounced him through some nasty finishing shots, elbows. A lot of people thought it was maybe a late stoppage. I believe it was Dan Bergliotta. But they gave Gilbert plenty of time to recover, let's say that, or every chance to try and stay in the fight, which I kind of do like. At first I was like, damn, he is hurt. But I also like that you never know. You can recover maybe if you can just get your bearings about you, and if you can tie him up and grapple, then maybe you can recover. That's the one difference when it comes to boxing and MMA. Like if you're hurt in MMA and they jump on you, you can finish the fight. The standing 8 count, a lot of people, it's like, okay, the people give the 8 count, and then you're thinking, okay, well, that's better for the fighter. It's better if you want to see the fight continue, but it might not be better for as far as your brain, because you really did get knocked out kind of. You're not totally out, but you're dazed, you're rocked, you're probably concussed. Now you have 8 seconds to recover, and then you're still like a wounded deer in there, and, you're going to take more damage. And I think it has more long-term possibility for damage, if you do get cracked again, like another huge shot, like what happened to Francis Ngannou and AJ and Anthony Joshua. He got dropped in that 8th round. I feel like he never really recovered. He went southpaw, which I thought was a mistake. I'm getting a little off topic here, but and then he got cracked, and I felt like he never really recovered from that, because in the 2nd round, as soon as he got hit again, he was hurt again, got up again, got dropped a 3rd time, and this time put out completely. Like in MMA, you don't really have that. If someone's really hurt, you have the opportunity to follow them to the ground, finish the fight quick, so it might be a little better as far as long-term damage. But that being said, like, he was given every opportunity to recover and stay in the fight, and just Mad Jack jumped on him and just finished the job, and big up to him. I think he's ranked 5th now, I believe, as far as the rankings. Kobe Covington still ahead of him, ranked 4th. He hasn't won a fight in a couple of years or beat anyone in the top 15. So they're talking maybe Jack against Shavkat maybe, or a lot of people I think forget about Usman being number 1 at welterweight just because he can't get a title shot anytime soon, but Usman's still right there. Shavkat Usman, that's a crazy fight. That would, if Usman wins that, he's got to get back in there. But I'm gonna make a separate video on all of the different divisions, watch all the different UFC divisions and what should be next, I think, because a lot of them are mixed up right now with all these new champions. You got Ilya taking over featherweight. You got Sean O'Malley now having his first title defense, which we'll get to. And so that was that. That was the first 2 fights. They were good fights. They were very entertaining. That was the first finish of the main card. Then the 3rd fight was the debut of Michael Venom Page, MVP, against, Big Mouth Kevin Holland. And this was, on paper, was going to be a banger. Everyone thought it was going to be a crazy, exciting fight, and it had its moments. The walkout was great by MVP. I like the whole, like, he had the Undertaker thing, but he came about his little flavor to it, hitting the gong with it, just feeling it. So it was cool to see that. I like to see that different personalities come out, and when it's the whole showmanship of the fight, because everyone has, I know the UFC kind of wants cookie cutter guys. Oh, Robbie Lawler is just cut out, just warriors going in there and ready to bang. But, everyone has their different personalities. And Michael Venom Page is one of the most dangerous guys out there in MMA since forever, since he cracked Cyborg's skull with a jump knee, like a perfectly timed counter jump knee, and, ended his career basically. So he's done some crazy stuff in there. Great showman. We thought for sure, like, they had joked around, like, between them, there'd be a podcast in the middle of the ring, just on the real octagon, just because they're constantly talking to each other and everything else. But I feel like Holland definitely had his work cut out for him, and I don't know if he brought in anyone to emulate the style of MVP, or if he just was just like, I'm going to do what I do type thing, just thug, kung fu thug type. He's got a ghetto chin, that's for damn sure. We know that. We know Kevin Holland could take a punch. He took some unbelievable shots in every fight, but especially this one. We're talking spinning back elbows. Like, MVP, you could tell he was just in there with that whole sideways stance, hopping, Cobra Kai type thing, just, put him in a body bag type thing, and just leap in with a crazy speed, timing, and power with that right hand, and really just throwing it, like, not even straight punches, like overhand rights, but just timing Kevin Holland coming in, and just so fast with it that you can't even react fast enough, where he turned Kevin Holland into a wrestler. Usually when Wonder Boy and Kevin Holland when they fought, they had an agreement, supposedly like a gentleman's agreement. We're not going to go to the ground. We're just going to stand and bang type thing. And Holland actually had an opportunity to he took Wonder Boy down, and he only had one hand there. This is where the fight IQ and just the showmanship of it. Sometimes it's to your detriment to be just a tough guy. It's like you got to get the win. If you could beat Wonder Boy up, well, you have one hand, you had a broken hand, you could take him down and beat him up, or maybe submit him down there. Do it. We had a gentleman's agreement. Well, you're injured now at this point. Now you're compromised, so now you got to do what it takes to win. But instead, you just put on a show, let Wonder Boy let off on all his whole arsenal of kicks and lose the fight and not look good, And then, yeah, you have a reason or excuse like, I have my hand broken. But at the same time, like in this fight, he didn't hesitate to try and basically clinch up with MVP almost every single time. And that's the thing, because MVP was a little bit more explosive with it than Wonder Boy. He's probably a little more power, I think, more devastating, like knockout type power. Maybe a little bit more creative in there. Hard to say. Wonder Boy, like I say, he throws some amazing kicks, but he's a little older too, a few years older than MVP. But MVP was just jumping in there, like I said, with spinning back elbows, crazy stuff. And he was landing flush on Kevin Holland. And he made him look really bad. And he kept doing this one thing that was nice too. Like first round was probably MVP. He's taking it just with his landing a couple better shots here and there, like just showmanship stuff and just not getting hit really. I don't know what the final punch stats were on that. I'll have to check that out. Yeah, it said Holland. Holland landed 64. He actually outlanded MVP by 5 significant strikes. So it was 29 to Holland, 41 to Michael Venom Page. So, and he had 2 takedowns, Holland. So, but those were all like in the second round, basically. So second round, Holland, he took that round. He got the takedown. He went for a rear naked choke type / neck crank, because it was like a weird angle, kind of sideways, and MVP did a great job of defending and getting back up, so. And I think Holland might have even tired himself out a little with that whole wrestling exchange. So I'm sure MVP is a lot stronger than he looks. He's long too, so it's not so easy to keep those guys down when they're trying to get up. So maybe he zapped his own gas tank. Usually he has insane cardio, could go the whole time. And but I think he was just totally frustrated. He just could not find MVP. Even though he outlanded him, according to their striking count, he really couldn't land anything big on MVP. Like he wasn't landing any big shots. There was nothing, no moments like, whoa, other than when he had the takedown submission attempt. Really, it was all MVP kind of doing what he wanted to. Maybe he could have let off a little more. He had a couple little mishaps in there and tried to jump spinning back kick and foul down. And that's what kind of led to that takedown from Kevin Holland. But I just felt like he was totally frustrated in there. MVP he looked great. He did his MVP thing. I think if it had been more of a banger fight and maybe Holland wasn't trying to, grab a hold of him a lot, then maybe, and trying to just throw more out there in exchanges and punching exchanges, then maybe we could have seen that highlight reel finish or whatever. But Kevin Holland's so damn tough too. Like he could take a punch. Like say he took elbows. Like these were like fast. He took a couple fastballs to the face and just ate him. And a couple times he did look like he was a little staggered or whatever, but a lot of it could have been off balance because there was one thing. Both these guys had a kung fu background. And you could see MVP was doing this thing where I had a guy show me this one time where kind of like where you're stepping in, you throw a punch and then you step behind them and then you come back with this type of thing, like a boom, and then come back with this, but your legs now behind them and they trip. It's like a trip, like it's like a block into a trip or a push. Basically, you're kind of pushing backwards, just like a bah, type thing. And that's kind of what MVP did several times. We threw 3 or 4 times. He just basically threw Kevin Holland to the floor, like kind of manhandled him a little bit. But I think it was just superior technique in the kung fu aspect, the striking aspect. It was just superior technique, and that's what got it done for MVP. Looked great. I think everyone was excited to see MVP next fight and his reign because he is 36. He's going to turn 37, so it's a little bit late to the dance, but hopefully the UFC could give him the correct matchups. I heard Dana White in the post-fight say we're going to try to match him up wisely. We want to, I'm not saying just give him nothing but, layups, but not that this was a layup, but I'm saying like at least give him, where he could showcase his talents. Don't just go and give him freaking Usman or Shavkat or someone who could just take him down and beat him up right away. We don't want to see that. We want to see the threat there maybe, but we want to be able to see some of the stand-up. Maybe him and Mad Jack would be a good matchup. I don't know. Everyone's saying him and Wonder Boy, but I think that like both of them, well, MVP kind of alluded that could be a boring style fight because they're both the same. They're both kind of, technically sound karate or point fighters type, stand-up fighters, kickboxing and all that. So a lot of times that cancels out. Just like when you got two good wrestlers, they usually end up in a stand-up war, or you have two stand-up fighters. A lot of times they end up in a grappling. Someone's going to try and take it down and change it up. So sometimes it could be quite boring. That style works against people who aren't used to that style, so. But yeah, definitely interesting times in the welterweight. It's been shaken up recently after Usman lost to Edwards, and now you got to throw MVP in the mix. Who wouldn't want to see MVP versus Luque or MVP versus, like I said, Jack, another stand-up fighter, Gilbert Burns, who just lost though, so who knows with that. But even Leon Edwards and MVP, that'd be massive if he can work his way to the top. So yeah, I'm excited about that. I'd like to see more of the walkouts, all that. So I did get that one right as well. We had Dustin Poirier against Beneil Saint Denis in the co-main, and this fight delivered. I was almost perfect on my prediction in this fight. If you go back and watch the video, like I predicted that Dustin Poirier would knock him out on the feet with the hands, with his boxing skill. And the one thing I was wrong is because the last 4 or 5 fights, BSD always opened up with a body kick, and he didn't do that this time. He opened up with a leg kick. So I was thinking that was going to happen this time, but either way, he opened up with a kick, and he actually was wrestling heavy a lot. And I think it was because Poirier was able to kind of tag him immediately with a counter and he has power in both hands. The one thing that everyone was complaining about, everyone period, was like, yeah, I was yelling at the damn TV, stop the damn guillotines. Because to me, like, the guillotine's the last ditch effort to try to stop a takedown. Like, you need to get lower in the level, try to get the underhooks, or try to either that or push the head down, sprawl type thing. The guillotine is kind of like your last ditch effort to, you're already in deep on the takedown. Now you're just trying to make it more difficult for him or put him in danger. And I don't know every single time that BSD shot, it seemed like 4 or 5 times Poirier was jumping guillotine, and you could tell it wasn't there. He said the last one was tight with that high elbow. I don't buy it at that point. You're already getting a little more, slippery. BSD had good posture. He's pulling his head up. It's one thing if you're just on the ground, but if you're just jumping and trying to pull him down into it, that's also just giving that momentum for him to pop his head out. So it was just, I don't know. I feel like just defend the takedown, and then keep it standing, or use that guillotine to stay on your feet and push away like he did ultimately, like in the second round when he got the finish. So BSD came in and just kind of showed that BSD wasn't at that level yet. That's what I was saying before. His level of competition was there. Yeah, he came out guns blazing, was tough. But if you look at my breakdown, he is defensively irresponsible, I guess you could say, when it comes to the hands, when it comes to boxing. He throws some hard kicks, has a lot of power, strong guy. You can tell he's totally really strong. But anytime he would have his chin up and I could just tell with someone with a great boxing, some of the best boxing in the UFC, in MMA period, Dustin the Diamond Poirier, he's gonna light you up right there, because he's not that easy to hit anyway on the feet, because the way he rolls with punches, he's got the shoulder rolls, he's got good defense, and he's always countering with more than one shot. BSD's throwing one strike at a time, one boom, 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 that's it, one shot, miss, go for a clinch, whatever. But DP Poirier, he's throwing combos, and that's what caught him. He's throwing one, and then boom, another one, right hand, I think, dropped him. And then every time it seemed like he landed with the hands, he hurt BSD. And then he just landed a crazy punch. I believe it was a right hook. Just dropped him, pounced on top of him with another couple of devastating shots, put him out. And I felt like it was a good stoppage. A lot of people even thought that was late because he could have been out after that first punch. But whatever, you got to let him finish. You got to let him get that, because he wasn't totally out, and unbelievable. See, Dustin Poirier gets right back into being relevant, right back to the title. They're already talking maybe Islam. Islam tweeted, his manager tweeted that, hey, we're going to Ali Della Abzi. I was going to say Della Sleaze, like Kobe says, but like both of those guys tweeted right away, like in June, Islam's down after Ramadan. he's down to get in there, because that's the one thing with this BMF bout at UFC 300. They needed it to kind of help save the card or promote the card, where you have Gagey now, who would have been next in line. Maybe he could have held out and just waited for Islam. And you got Max Holloway, who could have been next in line for Ilya, who still possibly could be. But he can't now. That fight could be in danger as well, because he took this BMF belt or fight with Gagey. So both of those guys are tied up now, and that kind of actually opens it up for Poirier if he wants a quick return in June or July or something. He's always going to be relevant, especially after a performance like that. This was kind of hit and miss. Like, if he loses this fight, it could be trending towards the end of his career, but now that he won again, it puts him right back in the mix where he could get a title shot next, and Islam's down for it. And even though he lost to Gagey, it's like now Gagey has a fight next month. So it just kind of, what happens with that fight does matter, but the whole timing of it too could open up Dustin Poirier getting another shot. So we'll see what's next for him, but he looked amazing, looked great. He looked really pumped up coming out on the walkout, looked good, looked focused. And I'm just kicking myself because I did pick this, and I just didn't think, I should have put money on it, because he was a big underdog in this fight, which I just did not understand. I get it, he got head kick knocked out, but that's a completely different opponent that you're training for. You're not really even training for head kicks probably against Gagey. This guy, it's against BSD. You are going to train more about for that, So, yeah, unbelievable for those first 4 fights. I was 4 out of 5 in the main card, so. But great to see Poirier. He's always a fan favorite. He's always in the conversation, had an illustrious career. And so now he's right back in the mix. And that brings us to the main event, Sugar Sean O'Malley against Marlon Chito Vera. And this fight kind of went the way I thought it would, but I thought for sure it's probably going to go the distance. I did pick Sean O'Malley to win a decision. And that's kind of what happened. Like O'Malley just came out and really just did his thing. He pieced him up. He was just a lot faster in there, throwing combos, throwing leg kicks, mixing it up. Chito is just like Peter Yan. He's also a very slow starter, usually in the first round. And I think that definitely was going to hurt him in this fight, giving away a round to O'Malley from the start. And that in the first fight, he had a low calf kick, perennial nerve kick that finished Sean O'Malley. Kind of was like, Sean O'Malley he was like a wounded duck in there. He couldn't play it off. He couldn't do anything. He couldn't move, so his foot just was dead type thing. So he wasn't able to play it off. He had his Aljo moment, got taken out on the gurney, all that. But in this fight, Sean O'Malley looked totally focused, looked fast, razor sharp, throwing everything he wanted. Every technique he probably practiced in the gym was landing on Chito, just being a lot faster. And Chito, obviously, he's one of the toughest guys in there. It came out today. I'm not sure if it's even true or not. Mike Bisping, the Count, tweeted something to the effect that Chito got his like skull cracked or something in that fight from that knee. Like, O'Malley landed the most devastating, loudest freaking knee you'll ever hear in the second round on Chito, where popped his head back, turned him into a Pez dispenser, but literally was so damn loud. And we're talking in front of a sold-out crowd, people cheering and going crazy. Just imagine if that was in the Apex, and that shit was still loud. That shit was still loud as fuck. Like, just hearing it, it was one of those old moments, like, how the hell did Chito even eat that and then still stay in the fight? We don't know. Technically, O'Malley was the first to actually drop Chito. Like, if this was boxing, it would have counted as a knockdown. He sent him down to a knee with the right hand. The same kind of step back right hand. He went to a knee but got right back up. And I said, Chito, like, even when I said in my breakdown, he's not going to be just put away. He's always going to be there. He's always going to be dangerous. And he was for all 5 rounds. Yeah, he was a punching bag in there, a walking punching bag. He got beat up basically for 5 rounds. But even in the 5th round, when they get into that range where he can't throw bombs, he was landing some big shots on O'Malley. And he landed that body shot right at the end, like a liver shot, right at the end of the bell. Like, if he had done that in the beginning of the round, who knows, But it was, I'm not saying O'Malley got saved by the bell. he dominated that fight, every aspect of the fight. He landed, like I said, everything. He looked incredible out there. He looked amazing out there, just fluid, landing everything. He, so much power, so much speed, and his feint game is good. He was getting Chito to bite on like every single feint. It seemed like early, like everything, just Chito was like reacting, almost like he got shell shocked, especially after that knee. It seemed like he was shell shocked, PTSD'd out after that, because everything O'Malley's doing, he's like, no, don't hit me no more type thing. I don't want to get hit, but he's so damn tough and durable that he just kept coming forward and throwing bombs. It just shows. I don't think Chito loses too much in this. Obviously he was ranked 5th or 6th. Maybe he could fight Cejudo next or something like that. But as far as his stock, just because of how damn tough he is and how he was still in the fight, still coming forward, still trying to go for the win, even though he lost every round. It was like 50-45. I think one judge had it 50-44. So clean sweep for O'Malley. And sky's the limit for O'Malley. This was a fight that made him. Maybe he didn't have the star power to carry this card, like a lot of people say, by himself, and that's why they stacked this card up. But on a stacked card, you're main eventing, and to show out like that, to put on a performance like that, you're definitely going to be a superstar with the little green, suit or whatever you come out with, weird shit, hair and glasses, and just, the way your wardrobe choices, like, I'm not a fan of that stuff, but whatever. I like him. I like O'Malley. He is kind of a normal dude. I think all that other stuff is because he's not so flamboyant on the mic like Conor. You don't need to see Conor coming in and dress up crazy, because he is freaking just funny and quick-witted. I don't think O'Malley's always the quickest of wits, but, that doesn't mean he's not smart or intelligent, because he is. He breaks down fights. He knows a lot. He's good. I follow him. I watch his podcast, all that here and there. I like his breakdowns. He's good. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's talking about. Very intelligent approach, and now he's calling out. He called out Ilia Topuria, which I know Dana's kind of against that. A lot of people are, defend your division. And Merab, there was a funny moment backstage where Merab was trying to call him out, congratulate him, and be like, "Why don't you call my name, buddy?" Type thing. And Sean just kind of blew him off, like, who was that guy? Like, oh, my bad. Like, oh, thanks. Like, who was that? Like, almost like he didn't know who it was. Kind of just blew him off. Like, Rob looked like he got stood up at prom or something. He just looked like all dressed up, nowhere to go type thing, And I got a feel for Merab with that. But then again, Merab took his jacket when he beat up, when he fought Aljo, did all this stuff. So it kind of goes back and forth, I guess, with their banner. But also O'Malley said he was open for that fight as well, Merab, because I think the people kind of want to see they want to see champions clear out the division before you go and fight in another division. Especially Topuria just won the belt. He just got the featherweight belt. O'Malley's defended his belt once now, so at least he has that. He hasn't got a defense, although he did actually cherry pick this fight, for his own, because he lost to Chito, his only loss. So he got that revenge. But at the same time, Merab was already kind of in line even before these guys. So, until he got injured. So he had to fight Cejudo, which was a tough fight that he dominated, destroyed. But on paper anyway, it was a tough fight. So now you got Merab next in line. And honestly, I don't think Merab is a tough matchup for Sean for sure. But he's like 5'6", I believe. You got O'Malley, who's a lot longer and with great footwork and such massive power. Like, even Cejudo was able to catch Merab coming in, because he gets a little predictable with the takedowns. If O'Malley can land his big power early and even stuff a couple of takedowns and really put Merab, on notice as far as on the feet and the stand-up, it could be a different fight than what people were thinking. I think people were just thinking Merab's going to go out and shoot 50 times, take him down, dominate him. And that could happen. That might happen as well. But I also feel like O'Malley, with his footwork and his distance, he might be able to catch Merab coming in. But that'll be an interesting fight. They're talking, O'Malley was talking the Sphere in Vegas, September, Mexican Independence Day. That big Sphere event. I believe that's UFC 306. So either Ilya, in Spain, or he wants Merab at the Sphere. We'll see what happens with that. We'll see. I'll do another video, like I said, of what's next for all these guys, for all these divisions actually in the UFC. And great night of fights. What do you guys think? Like I said, I was 4 out of 5 on my picks this time. A lot of times I'm wrong, but I did feel like Jack probably did have an edge against Gilbert, but I was kind of going with my heart with that one. I wanted Gilbert to win that fight, but he'll be back. He's always tough. He's always ready to fight anybody, moment's notice. So I'm sure he will be back to the drawing board. But there's a lot of great matchups in the welterweight division for him. So he'll be right there. Or I'm not even sure if he could go back down to 155, but I think 170 is good for him. He just got to just find that right matchup and game plan, I think. And but as far as O'Malley, Sugar showed out. He destroyed, and he made Chito look pretty bad in there a lot of times. But like I said, Chito never backing down, always shows a lot of heart. And I don't think anyone has a better chin than Chito. Kevin Holland's right there, Max Holloway, these guys. But the shots that Chito took, I mean, they would have put anyone else away, I think, even in a higher division. That knee was crazy. I don't know how anyone could eat that knee and just keep coming forward, keep wanting to put yourself in the fire. Unbelievable. Well, I don't know what that guy's made of, but tough as hell. He's definitely needs some time off, but I'll make a separate video, like I said, what's next for these guys, and what do you guys think on this card. Hopefully we'll see UFC 300 be better than this card even. That's going to be hard to do because this was a great card, but it's definitely more stacked, pretty much more stacked, but we'll just see if it shows up, they show out like this card did. But yeah, that's all I got. Like, subscribe.